Welcome to the admin preview of Release Readiness Live. We are very happy to have you join us today to talk about the top features we think you, awesome admins, will be the most excited about with the Spring 19 release. My name is Jillian Bruce. I'm an Admin Evangelist here at Salesforce, and my entire job is to enable, empower, and inspire people like you to be awesome admins. As you can see, we're having some fun today. It is Aloha Friday at Salesforce, so we have some festive flower attire going, and we have Einstein, our release logo for Spring 19, on his bicycle with some beautiful spring flowers. So we're very happy to have you here, and one of the greatest parts about this broadcast is that we answer questions from you live that you're submitting about the products we're going to talk about. And to tell us a little bit more about that process, we have Rachel Mincarelli. Rachel, take it away.
Thanks, Jillian. Hello and welcome everyone from wherever in the world you're joining us from today. We are so excited to have you on with us. So let's get right to it. To engage with us today on social media or the Trailblazer community, all you need to do is use the hashtag Salesforce Live. If you go on the Trailblazer community, visit us in the Release Readiness group and ask your deeper, more discussion-based questions there. Use that hashtag Salesforce Live and we'll track it throughout the broadcast. And visit us on Twitter. We are at Salesforce Admins, no I. We'll also be using the hashtag Salesforce Live to track your gifts, questions, general excitement, anything you want to share with us on there. So during the broadcast, we'll be answering questions live. We'll also be queuing them up for the Q&A section at the end. So be sure to talk to us on there, and we'll see how many questions these fantastic guests can answer at each Q&A round. Thanks, Jillian.
I love it. I think that's like a personal challenge. Let's see how many questions we can answer. So before we get into this amazing content we're about to share, as we do with every Salesforce presentation, we want to remind you of our forward-looking statement. So this is just a reminder to please make purchasing decisions based on currently available features and functionality, which shouldn't be that much of a problem with this because we're talking about all the cool things coming in Spring 19 that you are going to have very shortly. Maybe a little roadmap discussion, we'll see. So with that out of the way, again, like Rachel mentioned, we would love for you to connect with us online. We have multiple ways that you can ask questions. We're on Twitter. Use the hashtag Salesforce Live to ask questions. As always, you can follow all of the greatness from the awesome admin team at Salesforce Admins. Shameless plug. No I in that one. And there's the Release Readiness Trailblazer group. So make sure that you are keeping tabs in there, getting all the great resources for this release, and you can ask your questions there as well. Okay. Now, I would love to introduce my panel of amazing product experts. We have a rockstar panel here today. So I'd love each of you to introduce yourselves. Tell us your name, a little bit about what you do, and what is your favorite Salesforce mascot? Shannon, we're going to start with you. Welcome back.
Thanks, Jillian. I'm super excited to be back at Salesforce.com. I am working in the process automation team on Flow. And so I'm responsible for all of the UI stuff for Flow Builder, for Process Builder, and a few other things that we just can't talk about yet.
Forward-looking statement.
Forward-looking statement. So this is a little controversial.
Oh, okay. We like controversy.
We're a little controversial. My favorite mascot is actually Cody. But I like to think that Cody, as any good developer, knows when to use the declarative tools. And so I think it's okay.
Yeah, Cody has to know how to use declarative tools to build apps as well as programmatic tools. So exactly. I agree. And that's not controversial. We all love Cody. Marwan?
Hi, everyone. I'm Marwan. I'm a product manager on the Next Best Action team. I recently joined Salesforce. It's actually my third week, but I have been, I've just really enjoyed the very warm welcome I've gotten from the Salesforce Ohana, so mahalo.
Excellent. Well, welcome. We're glad you're here. All right, take it away, Carson.
Hi, I'm Carson Miller. I'm your non-AI-based human entity today that'll be teaching you about Einstein bots. I've been working on bots since the beginning, and I'm happy to share all the new things we've been working on.
That's awesome. Welcome. All right, Mark, last but definitely not least.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Baseman. I'm an admin evangelist on Jillian's team. Super excited to be here. I guess I'm also a human-based non-AI entity.
You look like one.
Or am I? No one knows. But I'm super excited.
Well, great. Thank you all so much for taking the time to join us today and share your incredible innovations with admins coming in spring 19. Shannon, we're going to start with you because you mentioned a little something called flow that I know lots of people in the community are very excited about. So tell us a little bit about what you've got cooking with spring 19.
So, of course, the big news for me for spring 19 is that we are releasing Flow Builder. 2 years in the works. We've been working on this. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We have some new components for Lightning Runtime, which I'll talk about when I do the demo for Flow Builder. We have process and flow templates. Now, this is something that we've been talking about quite a bit more on the developer side, but the thing that you need to know about as an admin is that process and flow templates are for ISVs to build so that when you install a managed package in your org, you actually have pre-built processes and flows that you can copy and work from. Now, previously, when you had a managed package, it was basically a black box and you could install it and that was it. So it'll make it a lot easier for you to adapt those flows that are built by our partners and then use them and adjust them to your needs. And then the last thing we've got is you can now also access data outside of Salesforce in external objects through flows. So we have a few ideas that I want to talk about.
Just a few.
Just a couple. So the big one, Flow Designer without Flash. Yes, this new version does not have Flash. Flow Builder does not have Flash.
Woo! Yes, we can clap for that one.
It's very exciting. We found a bug in Process Builder where you couldn't create user records. You were actually supposed to be able to. And so we've fixed that. So you can now create user records through processes. And then the last one is visual workflow dependent pick lists in a single screen. Previously, when you created a screen flow and you wanted to be able to change what was in the second pick list, you had to choose it on one page and then go to the next page. You no longer have to do that. We have a component that actually allows you to do it all in one single page.
That's awesome.
So I'd really just like to jump to the demo.
I think we love demos,
Because
so we'd love to see it.
Demos are good. We like
you
demos.
tantalized us with all of these great sounding things. We would love to see it in action.
Yeah. So Flow Builder. I talked about Flash. Everybody got really excited. Everyone's like, well, what's the big deal about Flash? Well, Flash was a little bit slow, a lot slow. It was a little bit clunky. It didn't have kind of the smooth interactions we're used to from our other our tools. It was very monochrome, so it was very gray. It was kind of hard to see what you were doing in that. And the other is, and it's also going away in 2020. Adobe is making it go away. So we pretty much had to build something else. But at the same time, we really wanted to think more about admins when we were building this. We have heard a lot from admins that they're intimidated by flows, that it's a little bit scary. It is a little bit more complex than a lot of other stuff. But we feel like if you can build processes, you should be able to manage flows as well. And we recognized that the tooling that we had didn't really support that. And so we wanted to really think about how we were doing that and open it up to a larger group. So I'm just going to talk briefly through a flow, the kinds of things you might use flow for. And in this case, we're going to talk about call agents, call scripts. It's a very common use case for flow because you can basically script the words that people are going to talk about, take you step by step, make sure that everyone's following the same steps, and also only gather the information that you need at every step in the flow. So it's very efficient, it keeps you on task, and it helps you get through things more quickly. And so in this script, we are looking at a collections officer for Electron Motors. The job of the collections officer is if an individual falls behind on their payments, the collections officer tries to get that money back, right? And even really responsible people, life happens, even really responsible people can fall behind on a payment once in a while. And so when that happens, the call officer here has the option, if the individual, where we have Christian, has a high propensity to pay, and this could be calculated from things like credit score or lifetime value or various other things. If we think out of 100 they're very likely to pay, then the agent can offer them amnesty. And what the amnesty offer will do is we offer to waive the late fee of $25 and we won't report to the credit bureau. So basically you'll pay up and we'll pretend it never happened. And so if the customer accepts this, we'll go to the next screen, and it says this is the amount due, this is the current late charge, you can reduce this to 0, so we'll go ahead and reduce this to 0. And when we click next, we're going to go and do a whole bunch of stuff in the background. We're going to set the days past due to 0. You can actually see down here, we set the days past due to 0. The past due amount is 0. There's no late charges assessed. Everything is all perfect. So let's go and take a look at the actual flow for this. Now, when you go into the new flows page, it's the same old flows page, in Spring 19, and you open an existing flow, there's nothing that you have to actually do. I always do this. There's nothing that you have to do to make it open, nothing special that you have to do to make it open in a new flow builder. It's just going to open automatically. And so there's a welcome mat. If you're used to Cloudflow Designer, I highly recommend you click the Learn What's Different, because we've changed a few things, which I'll talk about a couple, but I can't get through all of them in the few minutes that I have allotted here. So one of the things we did here, you'll notice it was a lot faster. We built this on top of Lightning Web Components, so it's so much faster than Flash's version. We're looking a lot for easier navigation. We've changed the objects on the canvas, so we actually use different icons and different styles for the different elements. It makes it really easy if you're looking for a screen or a decision to find it on the screen, unlike the old version where everything was gray. We have streamlined the toolbox over here. A very common situation that even veteran flow users were confused about was whether to use the fast lookup or the record lookup when they wanted to query the database. Well, now that's all just get records. So it's very much simpler. And then the options that you choose when you go into the records determine whether we do a fast lookup or a record lookup behind the scenes. So you don't have to know about that. We figure that out for ourselves. The other thing you might notice is that this feels a lot like Salesforce, right? If you've used Lightning App Builder, if you've used Process Builder, we'll hope you feel right at home here. And if we take a look at this amnesty for high propensity to pay screen, like this looks a lot like Lightning App Builder, right? We have the palette on the left, we have the properties on the right, we have the tool in the middle. You'll notice that we have a few more components than we had before. Now, some of these we actually brought out in winter, but they were buried in Cloudflow Designer under extensions, under Lightning components, so you may not have seen them, like items like this toggle. And we do have a couple of new components for Spring. We have a display image component that lets you actually put an image in the page. And we also have an address component, which lets you choose which fields from the address you actually want to display, and it even works with state and country pick lists. And of course, you can always extend it with more and get more on the App Exchange.
That's awesome. I mean, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, like I said, 2 years. We did a whole bunch of design. We did a whole bunch of work on this. We still have a few things which are people have noticed are missing, and I'll talk more about that when I talk about the roadmap slide. But all in all, I'm really thrilled with this new tool.
Absolutely. It looks so much more friendly, and I love that admins were at the heart of what you were doing here.
Yeah.
This is great.
So, a couple of pro tips. The first one is you'll notice that there's this little button that is sort of going on and off here. That is what you press to move the screen into pan mode, and then you can click on the canvas and drag it. But you don't actually have to press the button. If you just hold down the space key and then click in the canvas, you can drag it around anywhere you want. So that will speed you up intensely. And the other thing is we're working on marquee selection, so when you click and drag to make sure that to select multiple elements. We didn't quite get it in for spring. We're working on it for summer, safe harbor. But you can, in fact, select multiple elements by pressing and holding the Shift key and then clicking on each element that you want to add. So that's another pro tip, and then you can click any one of them and drag them to wherever you want on the screen.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
So a couple of tips that are a little hard to find, but when you know about them, make your life so much easier. So next steps. As I said, I really recommend if you're a Cloudflow Designer user, you review the differences between Cloudflow Designer and Flow Builder. We renamed a few things to make them easier for admins to understand, but if you're used to seeing S-object, it's now record in a lot of places, so I know people have gone like, I can't find the S-object, so that's why. We have a series of tutorials, which Alex Edelstein has created, and they will walk you through all of the various steps of building out auto-launched flows and screen flows with Flow Builder. Really gets into all the nitty-gritty details, and there's about 5 of them. There's about 2 hours of material there. And then the last thing is, I mentioned you can get more on AppExchange. We launched the Flow Solutions section on AppExchange last release. And we have partners in Salesforce Labs and various folk building things like flow actions and additional components and more so that you can actually bring those things into your flow if you're not a developer, you don't have one handy, and take advantage of them. And if you're looking for more information, you can learn more about Flow and more about Next Best Action in the Platform Release Readiness live webinar on Tuesday.
Excellent. Yeah, we have a whole week of amazing, more release readiness live content coming next week about by cloud. Shannon, I'm sorry, I just have to stop. That is amazing. Flow has gotten a complete redesign and it looks gorgeous. As someone who was intimidated by Flow before, I now feel like I can do Flow.
That's great.
And the idea that you can get different pieces and elements of Flow from the AppExchange, I mean, that is huge because you don't have to build every element yourself.
Yeah, one of the elements that we like that was out there now is there's like a swipey one for mobile so that you can actually swipe right, swipe left. So we're hoping you're going to swipe right on Flow Builder.
I like it. I caught what you did there. I caught what you did there. Well, that's great. Now, we'd love to hear a little bit more about some other great Spring 19 features. Marwan, what do you have to show us today?
Actually, before we do that.
Oh, before we do that.
I did just want to talk about the coming soon stuff.
Oh, sorry. We have coming soon.
So
Forward-looking statement.
Forward-looking statement, yes, definitely. All the things that people have been, I keep hearing this on Twitter, copy-paste, undo, redo, finding canvas, so when you have a really big canvas, you want to click on the magnifying glass. All of those are coming. Marquee selection is coming, and rich text is coming. We are working on some stuff for Process Builder. We're looking at surfacing custom metadata types in the field picker. And then further out, we've had a lot of feedback about things like the Process Builder list page, and even the Flows list page, and people just wanting better understanding of how their flows are running, how often things are running. And so we're really thinking deeply about those experiences and how you manage your flows and processes, what kind of metrics you want on them, telemetry, and more out-of-the-box screen components.
Exciting. Well, thank you for coming back and helping us do this incredible innovation with Flow.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Excellent. Well, I know there's going to be a ton of questions, but we're going to get to those in a second. First, Marwan, we'd love to hear from you about an exciting new feature in Spring 19 you'd like to talk about.
Thanks, Jillian, and thank you, Shannon. So I'm going to talk about Einstein Next Best Action. So in the demo that Shannon showed you, you'll notice that we're always showing our collections agent this shortcut to offer amnesty. But wouldn't it be great if you could do it based on certain information about the customer? So you could do it when it really matters most, when that person is overdue or when they have a very high likelihood to pay. And that's where Einstein Next Best Action comes into the picture. We help deliver optimal recommendations at the moment that it matters the most, the point of maximum impact. With Next Best Action, or NBA as we like to call it, you can combine recommendations using business rules with data that is both in Salesforce as well as outside of Salesforce. You can present these recommendations on pages in Salesforce as well as on community portal pages. Now, Next Best Action is actually very closely tied with Flow. In fact, Shannon and I sit on the same floor. We're actually neighbors.
Neighbors on screen and in real life. That's great.
Yes. She's also my trail guide, so yeah.
Oh, there you go.
But the idea is that Next Best Action helps you run the right business processes at the right time. So really tying action to making decisions. So how does it work? So the first thing you do is you define recommendations. So this is what your end users are going to click on and action on based on information with the data in Salesforce outside. Now, recommendations are built inside a strategy. So you have a strategy, you have multiple recommendations in that strategy, and then each recommendation is tied to a flow. Now, as part of this strategy, you're also going to be integrating insights. So for example, let's say you're working with a customer and you want to get their credit score. That's something that might not necessarily live in Salesforce, but you're connecting to an external enterprise software. You can do that as part of Next Best Action. Step 4 is presenting your recommendations. So you can use a Lightning component, the Next Best Action Lightning component, and put it onto any page, and then as the page is refreshed, we'll go in and dynamically load recommendations for you. And then the last step is taking action. So you see something that you like, something that makes sense, you want to click on it, that immediately launches the right flow, and then you go through a step-by-step process similar to what Shannon showed you earlier.
Very cool.
All right, so let's dive into the demo.
Yay, demo.
Okay. So like Shannon, I'm working in the Electron Motors app. The idea here is that we're working with an account, Dwayne Matarasi, and what we're going to do is instead of always offering this customer amnesty, we're going to use information about the customer to then decide whether it's the right time to show them an amnesty offer or not. So in this case, we're going to look at things like how likely are they to pay, what is their lifetime value, etc. So let's go ahead and edit this page. And we're just going to drag onto this page the Einstein Next Best Action Lightning component. So we'll take it here. Let's drag it. And immediately we see this page refresh. And let's go ahead and save this. And we see that this particular customer, as a collections agent, I'm suggested to help this customer get current, so collect payment from this particular user. Now, you'll see here that this particular customer, Dwayne, has a low likelihood to pay, a low propensity. So let's go ahead and change this, and let's make it higher. Let's go ahead and make it 80. And immediately, I now get a recommendation to offer them amnesty. So if I go ahead and click on Offer Amnesty, this is going to launch a flow, the same flow that Shannon showed earlier. It's going to accept the offer, and we'll go ahead and waive the late fee. And if we refresh this now, instead of offering amnesty, because the account is current, I'm now seeing an upsell offer to get this customer to upgrade to the latest model from Electron Motors. So let's see how this particular strategy was built so that we were seeing these recommendations that came in on screen. So I have the strategy here. Now, starting from the left-hand side, the orange nodes that you see here allow me to load recommendations. So let me click on this. So here, I'm looking for something named a field called Category C that lives on the recommendation. So if Category C equals to past due, then I'm going to load the corresponding recommendation. So this is actually a good time to also segue into what recommendations look like. So recommendations are like any other object in Salesforce. They comprise of fields that are out of the box, but you can also add in your own custom fields. So in this case, I have a name, a description. I can add a nice little image. I can also define my own custom fields like vendor, category, ranking, etc. So this allows me to load the right recommendations and also do things like sorting and filtering. Now at the bottom, I have my response information. So this is where I'm going to define what my end users are going to see, and when they accept, what is the flow that's going to run. So in this case, I'm going to run the amnesty for high propensity to pay flow. Now again, remember, every single recommendation is tied to a flow, right? And a strategy has one or more recommendations. So we'll switch back to our strategy here. So I'm loading 2 recommendations, either one when the account is past due and I just want to collect payment, or another where I'm going to offer amnesty. Now, I'm going to determine which recommendation to show based on their propensity to pay. So if the propensity to pay is above a certain value, like 30, I'm going to offer amnesty. If it's below, I'm going to get payment from them. I'm just going to collect the darn payment. I also have what's known as a filter node. So I can check the payoff amount, and if it's below a certain value, like let's say it's below 10,000, that's when I can give them an upsell offer and get them to move to the next model. At the bottom, I also have the ability to limit reoffers. So a lot of times, we'll say something to a customer like, thank you for your loyalty, but you don't want to keep on saying it and just bore them to death. I mean, like 1 time, 2 times, that's kind of enough. We know that they're loyal, and we've thanked them already. So you can do that using the limit reoffers node. Now, a cool thing with Next Best Action and with the Strategy Builder is that it's built on top of the Flow Builder. So a lot of the flexibility, the coolness that you get with Flow Builder, you get with the Strategy Builder. So like Shannon showed earlier, you can do things like pan and zoom. But another thing that you can do is you can actually drag this particular node and just move it out. So here, instead of saying thank you only when this account is past due for less than 30 days, I can actually always thank the customer for their loyalty. So here, I can go ahead and save this. And if I go back to my page here and refresh this, I should see another thing. So let me go ahead and check. Why is that? It's because it's looking at if the lifetime value is greater than 10,000. Well, in any case, we should be seeing 2 recommendations. The whole idea is that we can dynamically load recommendations and show these recommendations based on information about the customer. Things like fields like propensity to pay, which might be custom, as well as standard fields like things like name, phone number, etc.
That's awesome. That's really cool. It's really, really cool.
So switching back to slides. I showed a use case with a collections agent, but you can also use next best action for sales scenarios. For example, if you want to provide timely contextual insights to your leads, to your accounts, etc. So for example, let's say you're working with a customer and it's their birthday. We can pull that information up and suggest to a person that's working with that customer, hey, you should wish your customer happy birthday. Or if they're from a particular geographic region and there's something going on in that region, like there's maybe a snowstorm in Boston, for instance, and your customer is from Boston, you can show them that recommendation.
Come on, man.
There's always a storm in Boston.
It's true.
But it can also be used in service scenarios. So you're working with a customer, you want to show them upsell or cross-sell offers, or maybe a piece of machinery is down, and instead of showing them an offer, you want to say, hey, how can we help you remediate this issue? So really, it's all about showing you the right business processes at the right time. You can learn more about Next Best Action. The cool thing is that it'll be generally available as part of the spring release, and all orgs is going to be enabled in all orgs, so you can go in and try it out. You can actually get started now, so if you go in and try a Spring 19 preview, you can play around with Next Best Action. To help you get started, we have a video on the right-hand side. It's a great introduction to Next Best Action and talks about how you can get rolling. We also did a really great session at Dreamforce last year talking about Next Best Action, talking about the use cases. We had some customers from our pilot talk about their experience as well, so do check it out. And then lastly, next Tuesday, Alex Edelstein from the Next Best Action team is going to be talking more about Next Best Action. He's going to build a strategy from scratch, so definitely check it out.
I love that. So you can get more on Flow and Next Best Action by watching on Tuesday.
That's right.
The Release Readiness Live that we're doing then. That's great. Okay, so that was really cool. I mean, that is automation in action, and that was totally declarative, so it's all for admins to do. It's very cool. But we have some questions, Marwan.
Sure.
We have some very excited people. Okay. We have lots of people that are just losing their minds over all this automation. But one of the first questions that pops up, so inquiring minds want to know, does Next Best Action require Lightning?
That is a great question. So it is recommended, but not necessarily required. So the idea is that we have an API wherein we can return in JSON the recommendations that should be shown. So you can take that and if you want, render your own UI. So you don't necessarily have to use our components. Okay,
that's good to know. I mean, if you're not on Lightning yet, come on, people. It's Lightning time. It's been out, I think, since 2015. So, it's 2019. It's only 4 years. We have some other great questions, Shannon. We have lots of questions for you about
I'm sure you do.
So the first question is, how long will people have access to the Cloudflow Designer?
That is a great question. So once we have all of the remaining bits and pieces that we're trying to get in the next release in summer, we will probably shut down access to Cloudflow Designer. Now, there's no differences between the metadata created by the two, so it shouldn't impact you too much. But yeah, you probably want to get started on the new one pretty quickly.
That's a strong suggestion to get on board with the new design. You're
going to have to do it before 2020 when Adobe stops supporting Flash. So.
Right, because then you can't use it anyway.
You won't be able to use it anyway.
That makes sense. Do I have to do anything to my flows to open them in Flow Builder?
No. They're just going to, as of Spring 19, they're just going to open in Flow Builder. So if you were on the pilot, you had a different button when you created new things. They'll just automatically open. Now, I will say, if you really do need to go back to Cloudflow Designer because of one of the reasons that about like the fact that our rich text editor in the moment kind of requires you to edit raw HTML, it's a little bit of a challenge for some people. I totally get that, and I won't feel bad. Under the process automation settings and setup, you can in fact re-enable the Cloudflow Designer if you need to get back into it. But we're hoping that you won't have to do that.
Because you're building things to prevent that from having to happen, right?
We're going to build things to prevent that.
There's some great tools out there to help you generate HTML as well. So.
Well, there you go.
So
Sounds like good
that.
resources. Yeah. All right. So, Marwan, back to you. Sure. What are some sources of insight that Next Best Action can connect to?
Sure. So I think there's a lot of the traditional Salesforce services, like Einstein Discovery, is a great way to essentially like use predictive models to get information and use that as part of your actions. But really, like any Apex class that you have in your org, you can use as part of Next Best Action.
And you said it works on custom and standard fields?
Yes, that's right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I was just going to add, we've been working with some partners as well, and we talked about them at Dreamforce, but Conga and Cogito are a couple of them that are really interesting. So for example, you could listen to a phone call and make insights based on information that's coming. So, it's not just sort of data that you see on a page, but it could also be, for example, audio intelligence that you can use as part of Next Best Action.
That's cool. I'm excited to go play with this. All right, so Shannon, we have more questions for you. You're not off the hook. You come back and we've got all the questions for you.
Questions. More questions.
So can you, this is a question, looks like it's from @placeholdertext. Interesting, good Twitter handle. All right. I was like, is that a joke? So can you say more about how existing flows and process builder automation won't need to be modified to be included in flow builder automation? Are there any gotchas with governor limits?
Oh, governor limits. So basically, like Flow Builder and Cloudflow Designer are exactly the same. They're not the same tool, but at the end of the day, they're still building the same metadata under the cover. So we're still creating the same flow. The flow engine has just been going merrily along and adding a bunch of new stuff while we've been working on the builders. But there's really no difference in the metadata that we generate for the flow engine. So there's not really any difference whether you build it in Flow Builder or you build it in Cloudflow Designer. It's all the same in the end.
Oh,
under the
that's
covers,
great.
It's all the same.
I like that little pulling back, opening the hood a little bit, and giving us a little peek underneath into the engine. Okay, another flow question.
Sure.
This is from Jordan Vasquez. Have there been any updates to how you can look up records in Flow Builder? In the past version, if you had a collection of objects and had to look for records related to those records, you would have to perform a lookup inside a for loop. This is obviously against best practices. Has this been addressed in the updated version of Flow Builder?
I don't believe so, and I'll have to double check, and I'll post. I guess we've got the release readiness chatter group on the Trailblazer community. I will verify that. As I said, like the engine hasn't particularly changed, and so most of the metadata that we have is still the metadata that the engine expects. So I will have to double check with Jason Teller, the Flow PM.
Hey.
Engine PM. And
Jordan, talk to Jason. No.
Tuesday,
the 29th. You'll learn a lot more
Tuesday,
about
Jason
that.
will be on the platform webinar.
That's great. Okay, thank you. All right. We have a question for you, Marwan, about Next Best Action. When are strategies evaluated? That's what you showed us on this page was called a strategy, right?
Yes, that is a great question. So strategies are evaluated every time the page is refreshed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And actually, on that note, we have a question from Christopher Wagner regarding Next Best Action. Can we refresh the individual component rather than refresh the entire browser window?
That is a good question. I don't know the answer to it, but I will follow up in the Trailblazer community. I'll get an answer and follow up.
Perfect.
Marwan, it's your third week. You put all under the covers.
Yeah, right. You're supposed to know all the things.
Still absorbing information like a sponge.
So speaking of refreshing, we have one more question for you, Shannon. This is from Richard Mazzola. Very similar question. Is there a way to update the record detail automatically when the flow updates data so that you don't have to refresh the screen? It's a good question.
It's a good question.
It's a good question.
Let me think about that one. I'll have to look into it.
All right, Richard.
I've actually been here like 4 weeks longer than Marwan, so I'm still.
We're just feeding you to the wolves, and
It's like, yeah, sure. After I give Marwan a hard time, now you're gonna bring me into the same state.
Come on, Shannon, you should.
Okay, great. So thank you for answering those questions. Those are awesome innovations. I am very excited about everything happening in Flowland. Flowland is like a happy place now instead of a scary place for me. So if you haven't yet gotten your hands into Flow, and using things like next best action is a great reason to get into the Flow world, Flowland. So definitely make sure you check out the resources that both Shannon and Marwan talked about. And I promise there'll be more content about both of these great features on admin.salesforce.com in the near future as well.
And new Trailhead content will be coming out in February. We'll be updating all the existing trails for flows to work with the new flow builder. And we also have a couple of new trails that'll probably be coming out a little after February.
Exciting. So that's just around the corner? That's
it is.
exciting.
Our trailheads for NBA will be coming out soon, not quite as soon as February, but they will be coming in the near future. But in the meanwhile, we'll have several blog posts out there to help you get started.
Excellent. Well, thank you both so much. All right, we are going to transition onward. Now, Marwan, one of the things you talked about was Einstein. We would like to learn a little bit more about some fun Einstein happening with Spring 19 with Carson. Carson, take it away.
Can I have the clicker? Thank you. So when it comes to Einstein bots, the question I always get is, how can my customers talk to the bot? So today in Spring, I'm happy to announce we've added 2 brand new channels on top of our existing channels. In the past, you could talk to your bots on a community, on Snap-in, in your native mobile app. But today, we're adding SMS. So any customer can type in your phone number and start chatting with a bot. And we'll also be opening up Facebook Messenger, which you can embed on your website or have it on any mobile device. So it's huge. Now we have 2 full different channels, sets of channels, to have your customers talk to bots. That's where it's going to get very challenging. So in the spring release, we've done 2 major things. One, made it very, very easy to design bots that are multi-channel, because we all know there's different objects for different channels. Live Message has historically different objects than Live Agent. How are you going to consolidate all these different objects and different references into one consolidated experience? At the same time, a lot of our customers have been asking us, how do I know if the AI is good? How can I be sure that when I press activate, my bot will say what I want it to say? So I'm actually going to jump right into the demo because we have a lot to cover. The bots have been going really strong.
Let's go. I love bots. I'm a bot fan.
So the first thing, nothing has changed on the main page. Obviously, you access bots in setup. I'm going to head over to my Astrobot. It's a very, very simple bot. And the first thing I want to show is the new consolidated channel manager. Now there's no going all over setup to add bots to specific channels. It's all right here. I can add every different channel I want, text messages, web chat, all of them right here very, very simply. I can add them, remove them. Super simple, super easy. And what we've done in order to make it even easier to have different channels, we've introduced a new type of variable. We're calling them context variables. In these context variables, we'll have unique references to the appropriate object depending on what channel your customers are engaging on. So let's just talk about a really simple one, routable ID. Every time a customer comes in, it'll be on Live Agent or Live Message. The associated transcript object will be held in that object, in the routable ID. So now as an admin, you can create flows using the Lightning Flow Builder, which I love.
Yay!
Which can then look up, for example, the contact record based off of 2 different objects. And so now I can create a cohesive experience on both of those channels, and they're identical. Really, really powerful stuff. going over to the AI piece, we've now created what we call the model management screen. You can get an immediate overview of all of your intents and how well they're trained. So here, the Astrobot has an abilities intent where the customer can ask, what can you do? It's not that great, it's only at 80%. So I can actually drill down into that specific intent and see why it needs more work. I could see what intents are getting confused with it. I could see possible utterances that are there. And in order to make the model better, Einstein bot records every new phrase a customer says to the bot. So now the admin has a consolidated view of every new thing that's not in your model. I can now go through your train your bot interface and have sort of like a Tinder-like experience where I can accept, ignore, or reclassify everything a customer has said and teach my bot one, another. And if I get to the end, I can tell you that there is a surprise, which we're not going to show on stream today. But go ahead and try it.
We like promising Easter eggs. That's a good incentive.
Exactly.
So we're swiping right on bots also?
Exactly.
Okay,
Swiping
great.
right's the theme of the release, apparently. And now to show one really fun thing. I'm going to show your bot, the same bot, on 3 different channels. So obviously we have our classic snap-in. I can type today.
Live typing is always challenging.
Oh, yeah. So we have Astrobot coming up here in the snap-in. And now I'm going to show you live Facebook Messenger and SMS at once. Ooh. So on my phone, I'm going to text in to Astrobot. And at the same time, I'm going to message in to Astrobot on Facebook Messenger. And while those are loading, I'm going to remember as an agent to go online on Omni. And so now in the Facebook Messenger bot, that same great response showing it's the same bot. And I'm just an angry customer, so I need an agent right now.
I've been in that situation.
Dial 0.
I bet we all.
And so now I can see that work coming in. And as an agent, I can accept that. And I have that great console experience that I've set up that's consistent across all of those channels. And as an agent, I can say, I'm here to help. And immediately that seamless handoff from bot to agent.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah. So now I'm going to transition back into where are we going with bots and how can we integrate more with flows to make that more of a declarative experience. If I find my clicker.
All right.
So what's coming? A really big feature I'd like to announce is Einstein routing. In the future, when your customers are talking to a bot, you'll be able to dynamically route to the correct skill or queue. So if the bot detects you're a VIP customer, pop them onto a VIP queue and have VIP agents talk to your customer. If your customer is, maybe a little behind in payments, have them talk to the right set of agents to sympathize with those sort of situations. We'll also be working on a map view, which will look just like the Lightning Flow Builder. So we'll have another great consistent experience where admins can understand how users are flowing through that conversation. Of course, we're adding more channels, and we'll be piloting new languages very, very soon. So stay tuned for those.
That's so exciting.
As a follow-up, I'd love for anyone who's interested in bots to go on the trailhead and just take that introductory trailhead for bots. It's super simple, and it walks you through the couple steps you need to get a bot going. And there's tons of simple use cases you can use with bots. And of course, join our community on the Trailblazer community. We're very lively in there. There's tons of admins always trying to find the next cool thing to do with bots.
Yeah, excellent. I mean, I think, so that, by the way, that bots trailhead module is super fun and interesting. I remember when I was first learning about bots and getting a deep dive, I think earlier last year, I was connected with some amazing people on your team. Yep. And learning more, like Molly Mahar, Greg Bennett, George Hugh, was very cool. And so bots are just such an admin-friendly tool.
Of course. And it allows you really to experiment with that conversational nature with your customers compared to a strict, UI where it's point and click.
Yeah, and I love how you showed how easy it is to kind of continue to train the bot, so to speak, right? With the swiping right. I like that we have a lot of Tinder references today. It's Friday. So that was really awesome. Thank you so much, Carson.
Thank you.
I'm so excited about everything that you and your team are doing. And I already see questions flowing in, so we're going to get to those. But before we do, I want to make sure we get to my amazing fellow evangelist, Mark Baseman, to talk about some other great admin features coming in the spring 19 release. Mark, take it away.
All right, thanks, Jillian. So I am super excited to talk about all sorts of great new features that are coming in spring. But the first one I'd like to start with is a little bit strange, but you admins should know about it, and that is Lightning Web Components. So there was a launch earlier this week of Lightning Web Components, so maybe some of you saw it. It's kind of a big deal around here.
I was there.
You were there. Fantastic. So Lightning Web Components, basically as an admin, what you need to know is this is going to make your developers happy. This is a new modern framework. Basically, the old way of doing Lightning components has been replaced by the Lightning Web Component framework, which is a modern kind of web standards-based framework. And this works totally works side by side with existing Lightning components. Aura is the name that we use now. So anyway, the upshot is these work side by side, and your developers are going to be super happy and hopefully be able to develop things very quickly. So Lightning Web Components are here, GA Spring 19. Okay, so we talked about Lightning a little bit earlier. Starting in October, with the winter release, Salesforce will be turning on Lightning Experience for all orgs on a rolling basis. You can find more at this URL, but the short version is if the user has the Lightning user permission, if they have that permission, then they will be Lightning will be active for them, and they will get prompted for it. Again, for more information, check out the URL here.
Got plenty of time to prepare for that, and like I said earlier, if you're not on Lightning, what are you doing? Right. I understand it can be a little bit of work for some folks, but we've got lots of resources to make that easy.
And one of those resources is the brand new Lightning Experience Transition Assistant. So this is kind of an enhanced version of what has always been there, the Lightning kind of assessment and all that. So this is one central place for you as a Salesforce admin to manage your Lightning experience from one place. There's step-by-step instructions, there's tools, there's resources. This is your home for managing your Lightning experience transition for your org if you are not yet on Lightning. So check that out as well. Okay, there's a bunch of productivity features for Salesforce users, and there's also a bunch of Salesforce productivity features for Salesforce admins. So I'm going to kind of show a couple of these, and then I'll go into the demo. A couple of my favorites here, pinned list views are super useful. The email template folders and enhanced sharing, fantastic. Some of the new dashboard improvements are really nice, and printable view is just, it's what we're all used to for those of us that have been around a while, seasoned admins. So anyway, that's great. Some productivity features for admins that are out there. So you can change a Lightning page template, so right from the page, and I'll demo some of this stuff. We now have app-based home pages. I'm going to show you this. So basically, whatever apps that you're using, you can set a specific home page just for that app. Super handy. Customizable help, I'm going to show that off a little bit too. You can add your own help links there. The Where is this used button, this is pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
So there's also some right to left language support that's now in beta. That supports Arabic, Hebrew, and Urdu. And big objects are now in setup. I'm not going to have time to cover those today, but in the trail mix, spoiler alert, that will be for this whole thing, I talk about learning how to do big objects. So with that, let's see the demo. Let's get into the demo,
Yay,
right?
demo time,
Demo
my
time.
favorite time.
Let's see the cool stuff. Okay, so let me start in my Sunshine Sales app. So let me talk about what this is for a minute here. One of my teammates, Leanne Reimel, one of the other amazing admin evangelists, has created the Sunshine Chocolates sample app. So stay tuned. We're hoping that we're going to be able to bring that to all of you admins in the coming weeks, that you'll be able to have your own Sunshine Chocolates org. So stay tuned for that. Sunshine Chocolates is, I know, a surprise, a candy company, right? So the use case case that I'm going to demo today is kind of a standard sales use case that I'm going to be talking about. But at the end of the day, these the things that I'm going to show apply no matter what kind of org you're working in. If you're a nonprofit and you're using NPSP, all the stuff that I'm going to show you today applies to that too. So anyway, look past the sales use case. So okay, here we are in our custom home page for Sunshine Chocolates. Looks cool. We've done a bunch of customization. Let me just pop into all of our open leads. Look at all these open leads that I have to follow up on. So many leads. Well, you know what? I just want to focus on my hot leads. And I really want to see that view every single time I come back here. So now my hot leads is pinned. So every list view, all the objects, use these things. So these are user settable pinned lists so that whenever I come back to the leads tab, I'll just see this list by default. Again, all the objects, custom, standard, just use pinned lists. They're the best. Okay, so maybe there's a couple of these leads that, you know what, there's just too many hot leads here to follow up on. I've got to transfer these over to somebody else on my team. So I'm gonna super quick change owner to Sean on my team. Deshaun's gonna handle all these leads. I can even send him a notification email. Boom, one click, change owner, done. Super handy, right?
Easy peasy.
So that's another nice Spring 19 feature. So we've got all of our leads. We've changed ownership on the leads. So let me pop back to the home page here. And so we've got our Team Sunshine. We've got those list of leads. And you know what? I want to point out the utility bar down here. So this, I think, is an often overlooked but super handy piece of functionality. The utility bar can be extremely valuable for your productivity and, of course, your users' productivity. So I've customized the utility bar here to create a new activities option here. And as I look at my activities, I can see I've got some open tasks. Well, with Spring 19, I can now pop this out. And if I want to work with these tasks over here, cool, I can, again, or I can pop it back in if I want it docked to this window. But I want to take a look and see. So the pop out Spring 19 thing, pretty handy. Let me look at all of my open tasks. So hopefully you have all seen this, but this is split view. This is an extremely productive way to kind of manage a bunch of information at once. So if you're not using split view, give this a try. The tasks tab, you can have a tasks tab, you can have events tab. So again, if you're working with activities, this is a great way to manage a ton of activities at once. And frankly, I'm someone who has a hard time keeping up with tasks. I'll just confess to that here. So having the activities window here is really handy. So here I am. By the way, I'm Maria Sanchez. I'm the admin here of Sunshine Chocolates. I didn't talk about that.
Welcome, Maria. We're happy to have you.
Thank you. So here I am. I have a task here to send an email. Guess what? I'm done. Boom. Okay, I didn't really complete it. But the one click to complete the task is super handy. That's another brand new Spring 19 feature. Since I didn't really do it, I'm going to create a follow-up task for myself here to go ahead and send that email. I could assign it to my teammate. If I wanted to, I'm going to assign it to myself. Oops, there I am. So, and I'm going to make this, I'm going to do this today. Sure, right after release readiness, I'm going to follow up on this task. So, okay, you're used to seeing tasks, but the one-click follow-up and the one-click send email, super handy. So, I'm going to send an email to this contact, Barbara. Okay. So I've got that task and next steps here. So again, the activity pane, again, this is one of those super handy lightning things. So I'm going to use the email tab and I can use one of my email templates. So hopefully you've seen this before. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a template, but now I have email template folders. So at long last, we have a way to organize all of our email templates. So if you use these in Classic, you can now use them in Lightning. So I have a marketing email that I want to send. I'm going to send the Welcome to Sunshine email to Barbara. Yep, inserting this will overwrite the current email. That's fine. Hey, we're glad to have you on board. And I just want to zoom in a touch here. Just note the new handlebars markup language here. That's so if you're used to things, you've been around for a long time, you're used to the single curly brace and the exclamation point. Now the new merge fields are triple curly braces. So if you want to insert merge fields, that's right here in the template thing. So pretty cool. I use the email template. Email templates have folders. I'm not going to go into that, but email templates in Lightning, again, you could create folders, subfolders, doing folder sharing exactly the same way that you're used to doing with reports now. But let's say your users spend all their time in their email. I know this is a shock to most of you out there that your users would spend time in their email instead of in Salesforce. None of you know what I'm talking about. But just on the off chance that you do, so now there is a brand new, so Lightning for Gmail has been improved, and there's now a Chrome extension in the Chrome store called Salesforce. So it's just called Salesforce. So all you need to do is look for something called Salesforce. And when I compose a new email here, you can see here's this Salesforce sidebar. And let me just send an email to myself. Well, guess what? It just so happens that Barbara and I share the same email address. Shh, don't tell her. So here I am in the Salesforce sidebar here using the Chrome extension, and I've got which person I'm going to send it to so I can bring up the contact, which account Barbara is part of, and any opportunities that Barbara is on, and any cases that she's on as well. So, but remember those email templates? So yeah, it's true, they could use those email templates in Salesforce, but guess what? Let me go into our email templates. Hey, there's that Welcome to Sunshine email template.
Wow.
So I just used the Salesforce email template in my email. Okay? That's pretty awesome. So anyway, this is really cool. And again, when you're working with your folks who maybe like to live in their email, this is super, super handy. So again, I've inserted the email template. I can log that email in the same way that I would log it to something else. You get the idea. So anyway, that's pretty cool. Oh, but there's one more thing. I'm going to go into my calendar, and that's okay. Refresh it. Guess what? I've got the spring chocolate tasting, and Barbara, my email, but Barbara is also part of this meeting. So I can now log this event in the same way that I could log the email. I can log this event as an activity to Barbara's record and also to the opportunity account, et cetera, et cetera. So
Cool.
This is like super, super cool, right? So, all right. Sorry, I'm like nerding out on this stuff. So, okay, that's the stuff for end user productivity stuff. Let me show you a couple of admin things because I know we have a limited amount of time here, but super, super handy, super cool end user productivity stuff. So let's take a look at the admin stuff. So here I am in my old setup menu. So I'm going to start with my old friend, the object manager. So one thing that I want to show you actually is, so we have customized the Sunshine Chocolate app. We also have, we use this for project management. So one of the things that Sunshine Chocolates does is they manage projects, right? Not a surprise, they do, they set up new stores, new retail outlets, that sort of thing. So we have a bunch of projects that are in here, and they're all delicious taste tests, product setup, customer feedback.
Making me hungry.
I know, I'm getting everyone hungry, I apologize. So we've got a bunch of projects in here. Notice, by the way, this homepage looks a little different, right? So here we are in our project app. This homepage looks totally different than the sales homepage, right? And it should, because this is where the project managers live instead of the salespeople. So, oh, and by the way, there's that task that I created earlier, and I've got my little status report here. Let me just edit the old page and pop into App Builder. And hopefully you're familiar with Lightning App Builder. Let me go into activation here, and I just want to show you there's app default here. So right now, the project console has this console app for project management, now has this custom homepage. I can also set this at the app level and the profile level. So I could have custom homepages for an app and the associated profile. So for a system administrator, I might want to assign this, but I also might want to assign it. So I definitely want this to be the project homepage, but I also want it to be for one of our, I don't know, maybe the standard platform user. I also want that. So again, this app homepage will then be applied to that app and any users with that profile. And I save it, activate it, and so on. So you get the idea. So again, this gives you as an admin way more flexibility around creating app-specific homepages. So pretty cool. One other thing that I wanted to show you here is, of course, because it's a homepage, hold on, I'll show you a different page. I'll show you a record page. So let me pop into, so you can't change the page template on the fly on a homepage, but on a record page, you can change it. Oh, live demos. All right, so let me change the, that's actually, it's my fault. All right, so I'm gonna go here into edit page. And right now, the project record page is this header and right sidebar template. So before you would have to create a new page and then reassign it. So now I'm just going to change it. And I'll change this to header and one region. And now it actually helps me map the current regions to the new regions. So like the header is still going to stay in the header. The main region is still going to be the main region. The right sidebar, actually, I don't want to put that in the header. I want to put that in the main region. Done. So now you can see it's got the path component here, the project details, and also the activity. So I can save that. And then that, whoops, save it, pop back, and the page template changes. So pretty nifty, right? So super, super quick, super easy. So I showed you the app template change. I showed you the custom app homepage. The other thing that I want to show you here is, let me just pop into our custom object named Creatively Projects. And I'm going to go into fields and relationships. So again, it's a super, super simple project management app, right? It's got a start, an end, and a status. So let me just take a look at this status field here and check out this cool new button. Where is this used? So I'm just going to go ahead and click, where is this used? And it's going to tell me, whoa, I've got a formula field. It's actually in a process builder process. I'm using it in the layout, and that field is also used in a validation rule. Before you ask, because I know you want to ask, does it show reports and dashboards? No, not yet. But forward-looking statement, that will eventually be there. So that was my first thing. I was like, oh, great, this will show. OK, not yet, but soon. So anyway, where is this used? This is still in beta, so by all means, please give us feedback on this feature. I think that is like all I want to show on the demo stuff for for admins and users.
We're all going to the chocolate tasting.
I know, right? I think we're all getting chocolate after this.
And everybody is going to the chocolate tasting, for sure.
Mark, those are fantastic features.
Cool, you bet.
There are so many good sparkle things in there. I love it.
Yes, there's a lot of sparkle things. I know we're going to do questions, but I just wanted to put this up, which is I made a trail mix of all the things, so you should definitely check out the trail mix. There's a bit.ly URL here. We'll make sure that's in the Trailblazer community. So, okay, I'm going to turn it back to you, Jillian, because I'm sure that Rachel has been collecting tons and tons of questions.
Oh, just a few. Just a few.
Okay.
Rachel, I'm sure you've been getting a ton of questions from the community. What do you have for us?
A ton of questions, and also Twitter, if you haven't jumped on yet, is a really fun place to be right now. So check out that hashtag Salesforce Live. There are so many great GIFs. You guys are so creative. Yeah, it's a lot of fun on there. So our first question, we're going to throw over to Carson and ask, how often do admins train their bot?
Yeah. So best practice is between every 2 weeks to a month. You want to accumulate enough data to see high volume use cases, but you don't want to be looking at it every day and wasting your time. It's the right amount of time for you and your budget.
Great. Good to know.
Thank you. This one's for Mark. Does the email integration also work with Outlook?
Oh, what a great question. So the answer is yes, it does. There is Outlook integration. It's not done through the Chrome extension. There's a separate Salesforce for Outlook thing, but yeah, it definitely works with Outlook.
Okay, cool. Back to you, Carson. What types of data can the bot access?
So the types of objects the bots can access are any record in Salesforce, obviously your standard variable types, strings, date, datetime, numbers, booleans, basically all the types Flow uses. And of course, you could call out to any third-party system using Apex or external systems and get that data right into the bot.
Great, thank you. So Mark, we are going to jump to another question for you.
Okay.
Does the "Where is this now" button show reports?
Does not yet show reports. Not yet. Not yet. It will.
Forward-looking statement.
Yeah, forward-looking statement.
And then, can I share an email template of folders with groups of users?
Yes, you can share an email template with groups of users. Is it okay if I jump back into the demo really quickly?
Well, let's jump back in and
All right,
see if
I'm
they're
gonna
able to
jump
switch
back
it in the back.
All right, I was like, I'm gonna do it. All right, let me show what that actually looks like. So email templates are folders. This should look familiar. So let me just share the sales emails with, I can share it with individual users, but I can also share it with a role and subordinates, and public groups. So if I want to share this with all internal users, boom, it's done.
That was easy. Hey, I like it when we answer a question with a demo. That's great.
So yes.
That's awesome. What else do we got, Rachel?
All right, let's see. So at Claudia Me is asking Carson, when a person is transferred to an agent, will the auto greeting appear?
No, so by default, the auto greeting is turned off. You can force it though. Because typically when you do a handoff, you assume that the agent is ready to read the conversation and reply immediately to the conversation at hand, not re-welcome themselves and say, how can I help you?
Right, as an end user, you'd be like, well, you already did that.
Exactly.
Thanks, Carson. Back to Mark. We've had a lot of questions come in about that last section that we did. So, Mark, you're in the hot seat for a minute.
A lot of things for later.
All right.
It's sort of a big deal.
I'm ready.
All right. So can I create a dashboard with 12 horizontal components across?
Yes, you can create a dashboard with 12 horizontal components across, and I am going to show this. Let me pop back into our sales app. So one of the new features in Spring is the ability to have a 12-column component dashboard. So let me just edit this for a second. And this gives you some additional flexibility here. So if you wanted to, you could, I suppose, create actually 12 individual components.
Ouch.
I would not.
My eyes are gonna hurt
I would
with that.
not recommend doing that, but it is possible to do. But you can create kind of one-by-one components, which is really great for kind of KPIs, right? Some key indicators. You could, in fact, do that. Again, I wouldn't probably go crazy and have all 12, but this gives you additional flexibility around, making things bigger or smaller and so on and so forth. So my sales dashboard is probably not an ideal sales dashboard in that regard. I would probably have things a little bit simpler, but you get the idea. And we've got some conditional highlighting here too, another cool Spring feature.
Yay, Springfield. I love it.
So.
It's awesome.
Cool.
So we have time for a few more, right, Jillian?
We sure do.
Okay, awesome. So jumping back up to Merwin's section.
Okay.
Can we talk about if NVA works in Classic as well?
So it's going to be enabled in Lightning. I can find out if it'll be enabled in Classic as well. I believe the answer is no, but I can follow up and put that in the Trailblazer community.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of folks on there who are curious.
Everyone wants to use next best action. That's great.
Yes.
It is really
Go to
cool.
Lightning, yes.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so this one came in from @HelpfulSFAdmin, and they want to know, is the filtered pick list on the same page based on entry of any field or other pick lists?
So we're talking about the dependent pick list component. The dependent pick list component basically allows you to configure two separate pick lists which are going to be displayed. And then the value in the first pick list is going to determine what shows up in the second pick list. I think what they're talking about is what we kind of like to call conditional visibility. And that is definitely something that we're having conversations about. That's a forward-looking statement. But I don't have any sort of timeline on that for you just at the moment. We have a few other things we have to finish.
Well, I mean, you're already delivering so many ideas. You've got a lot more though, right? That's exciting. Cool. So we have time for a couple more questions, Rachel.
Okay, awesome. This one comes from @GallagherMeg on Twitter. She is asking, can any object be used in the split screen view?
Oh, that is a good question. I think split view is for activities.
So it's my understanding
yeah.
that most list views will work in split view.
Yeah, great.
And I will say that split view is one of those game changers for me, especially when I started to learn how to use Lightning. Split view is just, wow, it's awesome. And it's something that's been around for a while. And if you haven't checked it out yet, oh my gosh, go play with split view. Same idea around kind of console apps, right? So, in Lightning we can create standard apps and console apps give you so much more productivity with the ability to have multiple tabs open at the same time within the same page. So, split view is great, and it works on, I believe, on most list views, but we'll definitely make sure to get the.
Yeah, I'll confirm.
Yeah.
Okay, next question comes from Joseph Kuban. And we have, like in Classic, can we secure email template folders in Lightning with public groups too?
Yes. Yep. You can do exactly that. And that was the little demo that I showed a bit earlier. But yes, you can do that.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Great. And then there are some more questions about split view. So does split view work from within a case console?
So I believe that's where split view originally came from.
Yeah, I think I think
Public
yes.
Service Console.
Yeah.
Right, that is where it came from.
Bread and butter.
So yeah, so we think so, yeah.
Yes. And if you want to learn more about list views in general, especially split views, we have a lot of great Trailhead content on that. One of the easiest places to find a lot about that is the Migrate to Lightning content that we have on Trailhead. So make sure to check that out. They kind of overview all the different kind of list views, including some of my other favorites like Kanban and Calendar. So awesome. So again, if you haven't moved to Lightning, come on, those things are in there. Do it. All right. Sorry, I will end my lightning rant for the moment. Rachel, I think we have time for maybe one more question.
Okay, I'm seeing this one here from Leslie Martinez. Asking, what type of variable should we create for a record collection variable?
So when you have a record collection variable and you go in to create the variable, you will select the data type of record rather than S-object, and next to it you will see a little checkbox that says make this a collection make this a collection. I can't remember the exact label. And if you just check that, it turns the variable into a collection variable. So all of your old S-object variables, you want to create record collection variables for them.
It sounds like normal human language when you say collection variable versus S-object variable. So I appreciate that.
Well, it would have been an S-object collection variable,
right?
And now it's a record collection variable.
I like that. That's great. Well, thank you. So I want to definitely take the time to thank you, Rachel, for managing all of our questions. It's been really great to see what our community has to ask. It's been great to see the excitement everybody has for all the great Spring 19 release features that you all are getting out there. Thank you so much for all the work your teams have done. I mean, these are some really cool innovations, and I mean, gosh, I'm like, okay, I'm going to nerd out for the rest of the day in my pre-release org and just do all of the things. So it's very cool. Thank you for sharing with us today. And
thanks for having us.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, this is the first time a lot of you have been on Release Readiness Live, right? So we broke
Not the last,
in.
though.
No, I was going to say, watch out, you'll be back.
I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I want to thank you all so much for joining us today. We really are passionate about helping you become more awesome admins, and these features are things in Spring 19 that we really think will help you accomplish that goal. And as always, we will follow up with all the questions you asked on Twitter or in the Salesforce Trailblazer community. #Salesforce Live. Also, if you want more great content from the Awesome Admin team on how to be a more awesome admin, go to admin.salesforce.com. You can find blogs, webinars, events, and even a podcast that's dedicated to Salesforce admins, hosted by someone that you're looking at right now. So make sure you check out those great resources. We really, really care about empowering you and making your job easier as a Salesforce admin. So thanks so much for joining us. We're super excited to see what you do with the Spring 19 release, and we'll catch you next time in the cloud.